I feel like sometimes, I'm going to be honest and raw here, but sometimes I feel like because I'm so vocal, right? And as a black woman, I think people see black women, if they're loud, they're angry, right? Even if we're not
Right.
angry at all, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so sometimes I feel like his family sees me as this angry black woman because I have this strong opinion. A lot of people and a lot of doctors or therapists think like our mental, emotional, spiritual health and are separate, and they're not, right? Our,
They're not. No.
and I just like our mental, physical, everything is so integrated with our soul. And if we don't address that, and I addressed that in my therapy session, and like the guys that I was dating, I'm just like now between my husband and them, I'm like, what was I thinking?
You had a supportive sister
Mm.
that stood by you. And when you realize that, hey, I went through all this trauma that I never healed from, I wasn't even aware of, was she supportive? Did she walk with you on that journey?
I think I walked that journey myself. I think my family is pretty open, but just also closed at the same time. And
Hmm.
I like
Yeah.
honestly, I don't even think we haven't even talked to each other about the trauma we went. Like I talked to my therapist about it, and I think some of them have gone to their own individual therapist about it. But I think like I walked through that path with my therapist, right? Even some of like even and I walked through that path with my husband still with some unresolved because I think we're always constantly healing with my husband.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
I realize I think not everyone can handle or be empathetic to your trauma. So I don't like there are things I don't share with people now. Like after going
Hmm.
through the whole
Yeah.
misbehaving, I just refuse to share part of my life with like some people that I did. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's okay. You know, when we talk about support and having a mother that's there for you, and it sounds like you had a nurturing mother until she left this earth, but for a child who's, you see all over social media now, sexual abuse and things like that, and people coming out and children coming out and parents finding out about certain things, what would you say to a parent not knowing how to support, but I feel like people respond to those things based on their emotions. So some parents may react in a way where they're not so supportive. Like my mother, she wasn't supportive. It was more so let me cover my family because I wanted their love and their acceptance more than anything, because the relationship between her and her family was already hindered by past traumas that they went through. So maintaining that love and that relationship with her family was more important than protecting me and standing up for me. And then there's other parents that don't know how to handle it,
And shut the kid down or tell them they're
and
lying.
they, right, what would you say to that parent, that child that's an adult now, going through this process, speaking up about what they went through and trying to heal without the noise, but the
Yeah.
noise is just, it's loud, it's there, it's in their face.
I I would say that, it takes a lot of bravery, and I believe you, right? And I think that's what
Mhm.
that's what a child needs to be first believed, right? Um,
Mhm.
and I would say, it's never too late to heal. And you healing is helping you, your family heal. You healing is also healing for your child, right? Because that is
Mhm.
how, I mean, I can imagine as a parent, there may be like traits or things that come up as you interact with your child because of unhealed trauma, right? And when we heal ourselves and we take time for ourselves, as parents take time for themselves, it's really helping their child, right? And so if they don't, and if parents don't feel like they want therapy or like, 'cause I feel like there's so many barriers to mental health these days, and it's so hard. But there are things that you can do to like to start healing that. So for I also always recommend a professional, but like following a schedule such as like going to sleep, eating, and exercising regularly, like again, like your body really does keep the score.
Hmm.
And so to heal your
Yeah.
body, like those basic things also have to be in order. You're eating, you're healing, you're eating, you're sleeping, and you're exercising. Do those small things. It's really helpful for you. Okay. And it helps it literally
Yeah.
helps clear your mind when you have those in order. And so when your mind is clear, you can make better choices. But I will also say, like, take time for you, right? I think when
Hmm.
parents have gone through their own abuse, I think there's always this feeling of failure. Either I didn't do enough as a child, and or I'm not doing enough for my kid as a parent. And and I think every parent feels this, but also like as a child, like especially who've gone through trauma and their parents did not believe them. I think it's also double
Hmm.
yourself, right? And you have this sense of urge to
Yeah.
always make sure you know where your kids are, right? Because you don't want bad things to happen to your kid,
Right.
right? And so I think having this honest conversation, honestly, with your kid about what abuse is and what abuse looks like, and who, like, what is appropriate, right? Where if someone says you have to give them a hug, you don't have to give them a hug, right? Like having this conversation, it's not only beneficial for the kids, also beneficial for the parent. Because if the parent can talk about it honestly and casually and not make the most or a scene out of it and say, I will believe you, their kid will more likely come to them. Because they're like, oh yeah, mama has my back. And she believes me. And by not making a big deal out of just having this as a casual but serious conversation, they're like, I don't need to be ashamed of that. I didn't do anything wrong, right? I can come to mom. She will take
Mhm.
care of me and she will help me heal. And so having this honest conversation with your kid appropriate age wise about abuse is one of the most powerful things parents can do for their kids, especially parents who have abused themselves and maybe feel fear that their kids will be abused. Right? Have this conversation with them because it empowers the kid, right? And the kid can like say, hey, this is not okay, like, and you can tell the parent.
What you just said was absolutely spot on. And being a person that went through childhood trauma, and what you just said is exactly what I'm experiencing right now with my own children. And, when you feel neglected by a parent, when you tell them what's going on and they don't try to hear you out or ask questions, ask follow up questions. Okay, where did it happen? How did it happen? Like, I didn't get that. I said what was happening to me. And girl, everybody was at my house when I got home from school. I think I was in don't quote me, I think it was grade 10, 11. And everybody was at my house. I mean, great aunts, great uncles, my grandma, my aunts, my uncles. I mean, everybody was there. And they all heard about it before I even got home. And when you just said that, I think about it now. There was never any questions asked. My mom never asked questions even till this day. But she knew it was true. But she never asked questions. We've never had a conversation about it. And now that I have a daughter and a son, and we've built this wall where they can come to us and tell us anything. You said something that's so powerful that I think other parents need to understand. If your child doesn't feel comfortable to hug somebody, they don't have to. And it's not disrespectful at all. It is perfectly normal and okay. And I can tell you this firsthand because my daughter was in that situation where we're somewhere and somebody wanted a hug from her. But prior to that, she had expressed to me that she didn't feel comfortable around this person. And I asked her, I said, why? Like, let me know. And she just started, this is why, mom. And she just started telling me everything. And I was like, okay, I'm doing good, God. All right, tell me more. Tell me. And we built that friendship with her too, but also the boundary that I'm your parent. Respect has to be there, but trust me that I'm not gonna go and blow up anybody. I'm gonna protect your interest first. your emotions, and I'm going to find a way to handle it where you don't feel ashamed, you don't have to hide, and you don't feel like your whole world's crashing down, right? And in that moment when she looked at me and she's like, I don't want to hug that person, I didn't get upset. I was like, okay, you don't have to. And when we went home, she explained to me why. And I said, you don't have to hug anybody you don't want to. So that was so powerful what you said. Is for us as parents not to put our children, because we do it and we're not even mindful of it. We put our children in uncomfortable situations, but we have to learn to read their body language. Because I read her body language first. She didn't want to move. Her body started to tense up. So I knew in that moment she was not she was uncomfortable and she was trying to communicate with me through her body language. We have to learn to read body language. And being a parent now, and I'm like, I wish I was the mother that I had to protect myself. My daughter and son are so free and open to say these things to us, and it feels good. Now I know not to be sending you to so and so's house because you already vocalized it to me, verbalized it to me that you don't feel good. Your body's sending you off singles, and I have to listen to those singles that you're telling me about. So what you just said, it's powerful because that's how we know that we're doing something right, when we listen to our kids and build those walls of communication. Wow, like that is so important. I hope that, parents right now, if you are a parent or you're a guardian of children or you see other kids and they trust you, you'll listen to them, not even by words. It's so important. Wow, like that was good. Because that was one thing that I don't think that we realize. We like to say kids are rude or they're misbehaving, but they're telling you
And
something.
I think we need to realize that everyone has autonomy over their own bodies, even kids.
Yes,
And so, like,
right. That is.
I think even with my niece, I have three. I think I have like 14 nieces and nephews, but I have three that live in Utah, and I'm really close to them. And so I even ask for a hug. They don't want it. I don't give them a hug, right? Because like if they're moody, they're moody little things, and so they're so fun and funny. And so
Right,
I think we
right.
need to realize the kids have like autonomy, right? We have autonomy. They have a they have autonomy, right? And we need to respect their rights. And like you said, like hugging someone, being forced to hug someone. I mean, our job is to protect the interests of our children, not the interests of someone else, whether their feelings are hurt or it doesn't matter. Your job is to protect your kid.
Mm-hmm. Right. And we're teaching them
Hmm.
boundaries too, right? Um, you built a amazing reputation on being real and raw. And from this whole conversation, I feel the rawness. And if anybody else is hearing it, but you're giving me like other tools to continue moving on in life and building other ways of navigating through life in my own life. Um, and you're based on research based. What's one myth that people have when it comes to trauma?
I think one so because I feel like there's this media trend. I think mental health is becoming definitely more accepted of where, but I feel like there's a lot of like myths out there about mental health, just from like either influencer or something. I think one myth with trauma is like, oh, just because something happened like a long time ago doesn't mean it affects you. Or like or you can
Right.
tell if someone has trauma, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
people with trauma. You said one, but there's just or people with trauma can be successful or like, and so that is those are kind of the myths about trauma where like you can tell if someone has trauma because you can't.
Yeah.
And I think the world would be more kinder if we realize everyone has their own untold stories, right? And that like
Yeah.
people like when people and I wish people would step back when people react like negatively, it usually stems from her. It doesn't stem from us, like how we're interacting. It usually stems from how, their worldview or hurt or anything. Not really what anything we did, unless we're really being like a jerk.
Hmm.
But I think those are the
Yeah.
myths of trauma in general, or like I guess one thing is like once I have trauma symptoms or feel like I will always feel like this. That's not true. There's a lot of good treatments out there. Like I dedicated my career like specializing in trauma treatment because I know the importance of effective treatment, right? Like I myself with my trauma went to five therapists and four of them were crap, and one of them is the one that like really helped me. And like
Yeah.
it's interesting because four of them were women, but I connected to the old white man, and so like because I didn't connect with the
And who'd have
who would
expected that?
expect I connected with the old white man, and he's so like this, and I loved him,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And it's
And I think that's one of the biggest myths is that if you like waiting so long, people question why did you wait so long? Well, you're not suffering from trauma. You just and you see it all over. You're just looking for money. We just talked about how trauma can affect people in different
mhm,
ways. We could be in the same household, seen and experienced the same trauma. I may choose to talk about it. You may choose to shut down, not talk about it, block it out of your mind like it never happened, and move on with life. But guess
still
what?
there.
It's going to keep
It
popping up
is.
in your relationships, in your job, in everything you
Mhm.
do. And then somebody else may react to it as, okay, well, I was SA'd. I'm going to
Yeah.
bounce around, sleep with different men because that just keeps my mind off of what I
Mhm.
went through. So putting a time on when somebody comes out and talks about their trauma, biggest
Yeah.
myth ever. It could take somebody 20, 30, 40 years to talk
Yeah.
about it.
I when I was working at the VA, like one of my favorite population was Vietnam veterans. Right? They're 80s coming in the first time talking about their trauma when you're like this and they're successful, but you obviously feel like this has impacted them because you see help them dive deep into their lives. But
Hmm.
people with trauma are successful, and you can't always tell, right? Some of the most successful people have had a lot of trauma. Some of the most
Hmm.
impact, like
Very
Nelson
true.
Mandela, he had a lot of trauma, and but have like the most impact. And so, I think trauma is so like I think mental health like has been stigmatized and now is so glorified. Does that make sense in a society where like
Yep.
I feel like that's getting ridiculous. Like we are like instead of helping, we're now glorifying something, and it's not.
Glorifying
Yeah,
it.
and I'm like, why? And I don't think it's helpful because I think people miss people who have trauma because it's not glorified in their face, right?
Right. Right. That's very true. People do they tend to glorify. It's like a thing that they just you have trauma? Yeah, but do you understand trauma and what I'm going through? And that my reaction to my trauma may not look
Hmm.
perfect. It may look like I'm having fun, but really on the inside, I am screaming out for help.
Hmm. Or isolated, or
So
just yeah.
there's so many myths that I think now we're learning to dissect and re-educate people and let them know that, it's not a one size fit all
No.
thing.
And it pops up at different times of your life, right? At different times of my life, I'm like, oh, I may need to go back to therapy because maybe I just had a child, right? And I'm like, right, like I'm afraid I might die before, like just like how my mom died, right? And just so
Right, right.
people realize
Hmm.
that, I have people come to me and I tell them, like, yes, like I've helped you now, but you do real like if something happens or something gets come back, right? Because it doesn't mean you failed, right? Because life changes and things may come up, pop up that you've been maybe we haven't worked through, right? Or we like you didn't think would pop up.
Hmm.
And so I think with trauma, like you're healing from trauma, but you're always healing from trauma once you've had trauma, right? And
Right.
you're
Yeah.
readjusting.
Yeah. You've worked with a lot of people from different backgrounds, different experiences, from military veterans to toddlers. It's a different range of people. What connects them when it comes to trauma?
I feel like everyone expresses trauma through their bodies. I really do, right? So like working with military veterans, right? Like you can't really go for people with trauma, like maybe surprising people is not the best, right? Or like having
Hmm.
their backs turned towards the wall, towards the door. I think what connects them is like their how they show them in their bodies. So let's see, for toddlers or for children who've had trauma, maybe like if any parents out there like change in sleeping habits, right? And adults also have this
Hmm.
change in like bathroom habits for children. They start suddenly like peeing after an event. That's a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Like what happened? Um, they
Yeah.
start like wet in their bed, or they have behavior or sleep issues. Like it's like children and adults are different. How they a little bit different with how they express trauma. But I think really what connects them, to be honest, maybe their ability to just need someone to believe them. So
Right.
like how trauma sticks, I like to say stick and not don't stick for people. So two people can experience the same event. One can get PTSD and one may not have it. And how this looks like, let's say you and I experience like uh in a war zone. Maybe I go back to a loving family who I can talk to and process these events, and you have to shut it down. And
Mm-hmm.
so same with children, we found that children, if they're sexually like when they're if they ever abused sexually or physically, if they have a parent or a caregiver who they can talk about and they believe them, they don't develop PTSD. But it's the children
Mm-hmm.
who caregivers shut them down. They don't talk about it. They feel like they can't talk about it. That's who develops the PTSD. And so if
Mm-hmm.
we have to say what connects everyone is the need for people to believe us in human connection and a validated space, right? So when we have a safe space, our
Okay.
body's like, oh, and so this has to be physically, emotionally, and mentally safe. Our body has to say, oh, that thing is not happening anymore. You're okay. Let's actually, in our brain, like process what's happened to us. But if we don't have that space, our brain is like,
Mm-hmm.
nope, you're still in that trauma, even though you're not. The mind is really, your brain is like, nope, hear that, see that person, they're dangerous. You're still in that trauma. We can't afford to process it because we don't feel safe, right? So it's the ability, the need to feel safe in order to heal, right, goes for everyone. And so that human connection really is just the is it's a saying, honestly, for like no matter what population, you just need to feel safe and be connected in order to heal. I should add with the right tools.
And with the right tools. And PTSD, we hear it, and I think people know a bit about it. But what is PTSD? Can you
Yeah.
break that
So
down for us?
PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. And it basically, a bunch of people got together, psychologists, psychiatrists got together and say, hey, we've noticed like maybe like specific symptoms, specific things that people go through after they experience a traumatic event. So we've noticed even after 3 months of they're going through, they're still experiencing. So they're experiencing nightmares, feeling like a lot of distress when
Mm-hmm.
thinking about the event to the point where thinking that like sometimes it's happening again. So sometimes it's called having
Yeah.
flashbacks, feeling like you, others, or the world is like changed. So have a negative view of the world, like the world is bad, and the world is dangerous, like some parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But having this black and white view where like nobody's good, no one can be trusted. Like I'm not safe anywhere.
Yep.
Avoiding people, places, or things that remind you of the trauma, right? Unable to feel positive
Mm-hmm.
emotions, isolating yourself from family and friends. So basically, that's these are the symptoms that people have like as therapists and scientists have discovered that the people experience after they experience like a traumatic event for them. And these symptoms are not going away. Like
Yeah.
after 3 months, they're still there or they keep getting worse. So we call that like post traumatic stress disorder.
Okay. That's a
Yeah.
perfect breakdown of it, because I didn't realize that I had PTSD for so long. Whenever I seen police officers, people would think that it's because I'm black while I was scared, but truly it was because they were always showing up at my house every other
Yeah.
weekend when my parents used to fight. So that gave me anxiety. If I heard somebody yell, the inside of me was shutting down. Like, oh my gosh, what's
Yeah.
gonna happen? There's gonna be a fight. There's gonna be. I was thinking about I was reminded every time when somebody yelled to my childhood. My stepdad used to scream, and I would think, okay, cops are gonna show up. And then when I had my daughter, I became really protective of her. I didn't want her to be left with anybody. I would tell my
Yeah.
son, go with her here, watch
Yeah.
her, don't leave her there alone. Da, da, da. And that was terrible PTSD because I was like, oh my God, I have to heal because I can't keep thinking that everybody is evil, everybody is
Yeah.
bad. And I can't keep thinking that somebody yelling means that
Yeah.
something negative will happen. Right. That's, oh my gosh, I struggled with that for so long. And PTSD was like, I was like, I have PTSD? Where did I get this from? And I had to heal and realize that, okay, I'm safe. My kids are safe. I'm a good mother. I'm a protective mother. And I gave them the right tools to be able to come to me and protect themselves as well. So I don't need to always feel like I'm walking on eggshells.
What was the most, as a therapist, I'm
So,
always like interested to hear what was the most healing for you in your journey uh through healing from trauma and PTSD?
oh God. There are so many
Yeah.
moments for me because I'll tell you this. I told people I went to therapy. My last my last visit to therapy, I was supposed to go and I didn't show up and she emailed me and then she called me private because they don't
Yeah.
share their numbers when they do the
Yeah.
calls. So I was like, you know what? I realized that I don't need therapy. And she's like, what? I said, I don't need therapy.
I would love that. I was like,
I just needed God
mm,
because I knew exactly.
okay.
I said to her, I just needed God because I knew exactly what I needed to do. I was just being
Yeah.
disobedient. I was the one that was keeping myself stuck. I was already healed. I was just keeping myself stuck because I didn't think that I deserved all the goodness that He has for me. And I think one of the most pivotal moments of my life was when COVID hit. I wasn't getting out. And God said, you know that book that I've been telling you to write? You need to write it now. And I was like, listen, I ain't writing no book. I love to write, but I'm not writing no book. And as I was writing the book, I stopped writing the book and I made a journal. That journal that I made, I healed another layer of myself I didn't even need in order to write the book about the trauma that I went through as a child. And it was pivotal for me because God needed me to write the book because He needed me to heal that little girl in me in order for me to be able to be right here today doing this podcast. That was the most transformative and beautifulest moment in my life is when I finally let go and realized that God already had me all around. He had me in the palm of my hand from I was a little girl. And all I had to do was just learn to trust Him and stop holding myself back and telling myself that imposter syndrome was there all over, telling me that I wasn't good enough. You can't do it. This is not for you. You're not worthy. Yeah, you healed, but you're gross. Nobody's gonna want to hear your story. They're gonna, and at that moment, He's like, write the book this way. And He paused me so I can go with the journal. As I was writing the book, I was writing down how I was feeling, my emotions, all these things. And I was like, okay, I get it now. So that was one of the most greatest moments for me. And then when my grandma passed away, I wrote the book, but I didn't tell my family I wrote the book. And then they all heard about it. My grandma was one that raised me until my mom sent back for us back home when I came to Canada when I was 5. And when she passed away, I went numb. I went numb. I went into a dark place because the person who molested me was her son. And for years, I held on to the fact that she was disappointed. She probably hated me. She resented me. I had all these things riddling on me. And when she passed away, I was angry because I was like, I wanted you to know the truth and acknowledge it. Now you're gone. I feel empty. What do I do now? And I wanted to rip all the books from everywhere. I wanted to destroy them. I didn't want them to be online anymore. I didn't want them to be anywhere. And God said, what are you doing? Remember, I told you that you are the generational breaker. And I'm going to take care of everything that needs to leave and make room for where you're about to go and where I'm going to take you. And I was like, okay. And I had to get up and like, okay, I understand now. I'm okay with you taking my grandma away. And He said, do not attach yourself to how she felt and her not protecting you because now I took her over so that you can live free. And I was like, oh my goodness. It was an awakening moment for me. So those two moments, like it was weird how He made me write the book. And I knew she was going to pass away because I felt it for a whole month. I knew it in my
Yeah.
spirit that she was sick, something was wrong. And I
Yeah.
said to my partner, I'm like, grandma's gonna pass away. And he's like, what? He's like, don't say that. I'm like, my grandma's gonna pass away. It was almost like God was preparing me. So that was a release for me. And I know people might say, why would you be saying it's a release that your grandma passed away? It was a release because I needed to release myself from her, feeling the need to not be truthful to who I am and what my experiences were so I could help other people heal. And her not being here was what God wanted, is that it's time for her to be, to transition. And you had said something, you said, healing's not like, it's a continuation. Healing is a journey because every time you go through life, there's a new layer, there's a new season that God needs to take you into. And there's a little piece of something still like
Yes.
floating around and he needs to like yank it out. So that was something humongous. I didn't realize that he needed to yank out. When I was doing my interviews about my book, I never felt confident on the inside. I was holding back. I felt guilty. I don't feel guilty anymore. It feels good that I'm helping people. And the same things that I've gone through, I've had people reach out to me and say, I went through this. Thank you. That was just a whole experience for me that I really enjoyed.
I think, well, I also love how you say like that's like it was freeing to you, right? And I think honestly, like when individuals lose, like, or if there's someone tied to the trauma that they experience and they go away, there is this relief. And I don't think it's bad. Does that make sense? There's this relief that people do feel.
Yeah, no. And you said something because I did cry and
Yeah.
it hurt like hell. Well, one thing I got confirmation from because I was kept wondering, is she mad at me? And he said, no, she's proud of you and she's content because I realized that my grandma was
Hmm.
that protection for everybody. So everybody's wrongs that they did, she was there to cover them. She's no longer there to cover them. She was the person that tolerated and covered each of our wrongs and continue the
Hmm.
generational cycle to continue. Now you see the rebirth. I was here. I was created to break that. And I needed room to be able to do it freely. And he gave me the room
I
to do
so
it.
I love your journey, right? Because I feel like one thing is because we all think there's only like one way to heal from trauma, right? And it's not. And I think there's like multiple
Mhm.
steps to heal from trauma. And the fact that, therapy helped you some, but your other healing, your transformation moment came from like, your revelation, right? From God to write your journal, to heal. I think it's
Mhm.
beautiful. Like, and it helps us realize that like trauma is like also happens to our souls, right? And our like spirits, right?
Oh,
And
God,
like we
yes.
need to also heal that
Hmm.
because like if we're not also doing that, right? Like when I'm helping people heal, I'm like, what aspects like of this is helping you, right? Like, is this touching your mind, your body, your spirit? Like, I feel like that's my job as a therapist to give them the tools to feel all of that, right? Not just your emotions, because, we're more than just our emotions, right? There's just, as human beings, we're so complex and like we want to have healing to the whole self,
Hmm.
right? So they can fully live.
And you're absolutely right that that trauma and healing is a spiritual thing because everybody has their own beliefs and faith,
Yes.
but we're
Yes.
connected to something. And for me, I think it was when I was about 16, I realized that I had a calling on my life that I shied away from for years because I was like, nope, you got the wrong person. I don't know what you're talking about. You got the completely wrong person. And because of my trauma, I was so disobedient to the things that God wanted me to do. I was disobedient to stepping into who I am. I was disobedient to the fact that I had the power to touch people in a way that God wanted me to touch them. And it was spiritual. So one thing I always did was I would quench the spirit. So if I felt God, moving within me, I would resist it. I don't want it. I don't deserve it. There's no way that a person who went through all of this should have all this blessing, all these gifts that I don't deserve it. So for a long period of my life, I pushed him away. I said, I don't want you, but he never left me. And that's how you know that when there's a real purpose in you and calling on your life, he will not leave you no matter what you do, no matter how far you run. And to know that this is what he had planned for me, I have to wholeheartedly embrace and allow him to continue moving me in the direction. So it is spiritual. And I think that people need to take the time to figure that out for themselves and be patient because God's not rushing us when it
We're
comes to
rushing
healing.
ourselves a lot of times, right? And each other, but it's not
We're
rushing.
rushing. Yeah, because we want to get over it. That's another
Right?
stigma. People say,
Oh
just
my
get
God.
over it. It happened so long ago,
Right.
right? If you had to walk us through a healing day, your ideal structure for someone recovering from trauma, what would it include?
Okay. And am I doing this from this person, like as a therapist perspective, or just a okay?
Hmm. Yes, from a
Okay.
therapist
I
perspective.
think
Yeah.
my ideal day for someone like where is for them like waking up at a reasonable time where they feel like they have enough sleep. Because I'm not a fan of this new trend bed rot, right? When you bed rot,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
mentally, you don't feel good after. You don't, because you're just scrolling. But let's say they wake up at a reasonable time, like 7 or 8 a.m., right? And they don't necessarily touch their
Hmm.
phones because I feel like and I feel like I'm guilty of this, of like when I wake up, did I get any emails? Did I,
Yeah. First thing we do.
right? So like, or my husband playing Pokemon, and I'm like, it's 7, Pokemon is asleep. He doesn't have time for this, right? As
Yeah.
right, it's a
It's just a
natural thing.
natural
So
thing.
like, I think my a healing day would be for my client and for myself would be waking up, having a reflection time, even 20 minutes, going outside, going for a walk without your device, right? Or either if you're not outside person,
Hmm.
just meditating, or if you're a spiritual person, like reading your just your spiritual text or something, or like just having that reflection time, 20 minutes or 30 minutes of reflection time. Eating breakfast, making sure to eat a good healthy meal, right? Either going to work, and then during work, like, and I think sometimes some people's work could be a source of trauma for them, right? But like either like
Hmm.
doing something that for them that's fulfilling, or finding the courage to do something for themselves that's fulfilling, I think would be really important, because I think making sure to eat at least 3 meals, like exercising, um, and then after work or whatever, like just connecting either from what's giving you stress, so work, or your family. Your family could be giving you stress. Maybe you need to disconnect from them, right? And maybe have like
Yeah.
an hour to yourself. And during this hour, right, I tell people like I think people are afraid to dream. Like, what is it you've always wanted to do, right? Or what is this like you always wanted
Hmm.
to try? Finding hobbies or things that like are not necessarily practical, but you always wanted to try them, because like trying new things
Yeah.
literally builds confidence, and practicing new things builds confidence. So
Hmm.
I would
Hmm.
say doing that, connecting with your socially with either a loved one or something that gives you the meaning and connection, eating dinner and going to bed, right? As a therapist, one of those weeks,
Yeah.
maybe go to therapy or do something therapeutic like writing your journal, right? Something that helps you release your emotions. But in between those days, find a time to actually release your emotions, okay? Because like a lot of people say I would keep it in, and then when I have time to release it, like your emotions, I will. But the time really never comes, especially as women, when we take care of everyone and we are like so ready to like always put other people's feelings ahead of ours. The time never really comes for us to release our own
Hmm.
emotions, right? And so like making the time
Yeah.
somewhere or a day to either release our emotions, write our journal, and take time to feel what we're feeling. Right? I don't think my husband. I think I feel sorry for him because he has a therapist. That's the wife, and I ask him every day during the dinner table. Tell me something. Tell me 3 emotions that you felt today and why. And we talk about
Hmm.
this because he
Wow.
also has a tendency to bottle stuff. He's like, I don't know why I'm mad, and I'm like, do you want me to tell you why you're mad, or do you want to let you figure this out? Do you want me to play therapist here, or do you want to play wife? Because I could say, right, and I could say,
Wife.
oh,
Hmm.
honey, let's talk about it out, or I can say, okay, I'll tell you why you're right, because you haven't had a break for 10 hours. That's
Yeah.
why you're
Yeah.
mad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that your
yeah,
methods work for both, for therapists and for people that are going through their life, because as you talk about it, it's basically just mentally preparing yourself for
yeah,
your day,
yeah,
decompressing, not
yeah.
just running out the
Take time,
house.
like wake up, take time and like slowly get ready for your day. Honestly, that's better for your mental, physical health, especially your physical health, right? Your body doesn't like to be in a constant
Hmm.
state of stress.
Hmm.
I promise you it doesn't, right? Like the like pretty
Right.
one thing our body doesn't do well is really tell what is good stress and what is bad stress. Stress is stress to our body. So even if you're excited about something, your cortisol still
Hmm.
raises. If you're stressed, your cortisol still raises, right? And so our cortisol, like we need to like given our body at a better level of stress, it's really more impactful. So when we go through our day intentionally
Hmm.
and plan our day and not packing, but making our day meaningful, not only are we less stressed, but we actually enjoy our life more, right? Because and we're
Yeah.
healing, right?
Yeah.
And so that's like a perfect healing day. It's like continue to be intentional, honestly, with our lives. And that means slowing down. And I feel like at this day age, we're so go, go, go. It's not healthy for our mind or our body, right? Our bodies, it gets exhausted, it breaks down. And so the best way to heal, honestly, especially if you don't want to go therapy, I'm a big fan of therapy. But if you don't want to go therapy, if you don't, the best way to start healing from trauma is being intentional about your day and start slowing down and having good habits of sleep, eating, water, exercise. One of the best ways to start healing your body from trauma. Taking care of your body because your body does keep the score.
I co-sign that, all of
Yeah.
that, because I was like that. Wake up in the morning, get the kids ready for school, and then I'm just rushing to work. And I didn't realize how much it was breaking down my body, not taking time to process my day before, process my emotions when I woke up. How am I feeling this morning? What mind space am I in?
Yeah.
How am I physically feeling? Am I feeling well? Do I need to stretch? Do I need to? And I would not eat breakfast. And that was something that I realize now. I will not leave my house if I don't have my breakfast with me. Whatever it is, I need to take time and eat it and process my emotions. Okay. And now if I'm having a shower in the morning, I literally search my emotions. Okay, God, I woke up miserable this morning. I'm a little bit unhappy. I don't know why, but I feel like
Yeah.
crying. And now they know, like I'll say it to my family. I woke up this morning and I feel
Yeah.
so broken. I feel like crying. And they're like, okay, you know what they do? They put on one of my favorite gospel songs because they know what it does for me. And then they'll leave the room for 30 minutes and I'm like, oh, they get me. They get me. Thank you, God, for. And you know what I understand? Growing with your family and being communicated and letting them know I'm going through something and letting them be there
Yeah.
for you. And knowing that, okay, you just need time for yourself to listen to your music and you're good. So now they know how I feel, and they know that, okay, mom, whatever, she needs her 30 minutes to shower and then just pray and deal with my emotions. So I agree with that. It's important for you to take an hour for yourself. If you have to wake up a little bit earlier,
Mhm.
go to bed earlier, but take that hour, half an hour to an hour for yourself. And you said something about, if you don't want to go to therapy, that's fine. And I know there's a lot of therapists and there's a lot of different healing processes online for people to have access to. What do you wish coaches, therapists, or influencers would stop doing when it comes to giving trauma advice?
Oh my gosh. So like as like or feeling like yeah, I have a problem with this, right? Everyone is different. So what works for one person and what works for one therapist, right? Won't necessarily work for that like everyone else. And so as a therapist, like I believe in meeting the clients
Hmm.
where they're at, right? And so like I guess this is why I'm a nerd where I try to like be trained in like the most up to date of things that like work for trauma because I know not everything works for everyone people, right? And so I just wish like
Right.
people will stop giving blanket advice because this works for me is gonna work for you, right? Or like or tell people how they should feel. Does that make sense? Like
Mhm.
how they should have
Mhm.
feel, like if they
Mhm.
have trauma or if they don't. Because I just feel like no one really, like everyone's trauma experience is so different that it is never my place to good. I would never tell a client how they should feel or what expected should they what is expected for them to feel, right? My go-to is like, right,
I agree.
and my go-to is like, at the end of this, like of treatment, you know, how do you imagine your life? How do you imagine you want to feel, right? And then we go back to that, right? But I think I would I would say no one's ever really the expert. People are only the expert of their own lives, right? Even though I have trauma training and I'm a therapist, I'm not the expert. I'm just a trained person, right? And like
Mhm.
I may not be the best therapist for someone because people like fit differently, but I can promise you I will help you find someone that's a better fit if I'm not the person. So I kind of wish people would stop selling
Mhm.
themselves. So I just wish
Yeah,
people will
I
stop selling
agree.
themselves because at the end of the day, like people are gonna connect to you or they're not. But like me, I would never push someone into therapy if they're not ready for it or if there's someone a better fit. Like I've referred to people, I'm like, I think this person may actually be a better fit for you because I just know that, right? And so I think if we're going to really
Right.
help people, and I think as a therapist, we do need to make money, but I also refuse to deceive someone, like, and like sell
Mhm.
someone something that I think may not be helpful for them. And so I just wish people would stop like selling themselves so much and give like just general more helpful advice. Does that make sense? Yeah,
Neutral.
just
Hmm.
neutral.
Yeah, more neutral advice.
Yeah, and I think, exercising is neutral for everyone. Some kind of move your body, right? Or like go to sleep on time.
Yep.
Like that's, but like not everyone
Right.
is going to respond. So I hate when people say like, I'm the expert this, so I need you to do like, right? Because people are only the expert of their own lives
No.
at the same time, right? We're trained,
Hmm.
but I I don't know. I think to truly help people, I think we need to realize as therapists and coach, we don't know everything, right? And there's a lot of things we can learn and continue to keep learning and to be humble because I see all these like
Yeah.
yeah, all these social media posts about like, you know, you need to do this, you need to do this, and like for me that turns me off.
Yeah. Just telling people what they need to do rather
Or
than
just
just,
this may be
if
helpful,
you
right?
don't know,
This
you don't
may be
understand.
helpful, or like criticizing people that
Hmm.
they're not doing this, they're failing. I've had coaches like that, and then like we are not getting
Hmm.
along because people are just at different stages of their lives, right? And I honor the fact that not mental health is expensive. Mental health therapy is expensive. So I honor the fact that maybe a client, I'm just
Hmm.
private pay, maybe a client can't afford my private pay thing, so I'm not gonna force
Hmm.
them. Like I get sliding scales, but they're like I can only use insurance. I'm gonna help them find insurance, right? And so I just wish like people do what's best interest
Right.
for the
Hmm.
people instead of selling themselves. That's just my take.
I
Yeah.
agree. Thank you for sharing that because it's true. A lot of people are just refer them off to somebody else who can help them. Don't
Yeah.
be that one that just feels like you know it
Hmm.
all, right? I have a segment that I love. This is like one of my favorite parts of this, and it's a
Okay.
little game that I have. This game today is called Mirror to the Mic
Okay.
Rapid Fire. And I have a couple of questions, and I just want you to answer them and say the first thing that comes to your mind. What's one moment from your own healing that still grounds
When
you
I
today?
felt like my body and my soul were connected. I did I went to a therapist and years ago I did EMDR, and there was this moment I was sitting in grad school, and for some reason I just felt I never ever felt in tune with my body, but I didn't realize that. And so like there was this moment where I literally felt
Mhm.
my body and my soul come together, and I just felt alive. I was like I felt so yeah. So that was like one
Yeah.
moment of my healing that I still remember. It was so cool.
Complete the sentence. When it comes to healing trauma, the thing no one is saying out loud is
Healing doesn't come all at once, or and healing, yeah, and healing
that
is
is true.
not all one size fit all.
That
Yeah.
that's a good one because it's true. We
Yeah.
like to hear the word trauma, and once we hear trauma, people usually attach
Yeah.
it to a physical thing, and then they apply every single definition or everything they heard about trauma to
Uh,
every single person.
uh,
It's not a one size fit all. If there's anyone that's listening right now feeling like they've tried every and everything, they've gone to a therapist, checked it out, and that therapist wasn't for them, so they just automatically think that maybe this is not the route for them. What do you want them
I
to
want
know?
you to know to keep trying, right? Because to be honest, like having a right therapist fit is important, and I definitely agree. But I do know not all therapists are created the same, right? And so, and not every therapist has a different personality. And so, to keep trying, right? I give free consultations, and like if I find someone that's a better fit for someone that I know, I refer them to them, that person to them. And so, just
Mhm.
know that there is healing, there is resources out there, and to keep going. If you're tired, um, if you want to take a break right now, that's fine. But to start your search again, because there's a therapist or there's someone or something that can help you.
You have given us so many tools, so much insight on trauma and healing and taking our health. Very important. Nutrition, our emotions, analyzing our surroundings and the people that are around us and that are supposed to be supportive of us. And I want to thank you for being so transparent and being a no nonsense therapist because that is really important. We always need authentic, raw, and transparent. And you have proven to be all three, which is really needed in this generation now where we have therapists, claiming to be the one for everybody. There's always a therapist for everybody. And I want to thank you for separating the weight in our hand and the weight in our heart and letting us know that it's okay to take time with ourselves and heal, do the work, go through the processes. And sometimes we may feel alone, and that's okay. And if there's anything that you would tell anybody right now who's on their path to healing, they're ready to do the work, what would you say to them?
I think I would say that you are so strong in not only going through what you went through, but also deciding to heal, right? And to not get discouraged and know that there is going to, although this is a transformative process, right? There's going to be hard days and there's going to be bad days. And either just because you have a hard or a bad day doesn't mean you're not progressing. Right? And to allow yourself that to have a hard and bad day, because that's actually where the healing comes from. When we allow ourselves to have those bad emotions, or I don't like to say bad, to have those emotions that don't feel so good, right? To have those emotions that are distressing, we want to strive, we don't want to heal. That's where the progress actually comes from. So allow yourself as you're going through the healing to have those days where you're feeling like, I don't want to do this work. It's okay to have that, but get up and do the work, right? And and heal it as you heal, right? It doesn't mean you're gonna be perfect, right? But you're you're on your way to living a life that you so deserve to live, living a life with authenticity and joy and love that you need. So that's what
Thank you. I love that. How can people reach out to you if they want to connect with you and maybe they want to hire you as their therapist or have a
yeah.
consultation to see
So
if you're
I
the
do
right
free
fit for them?
consultations. So I can send my link to my website. I'm so bad at technology, and so I'm gonna have to have my husband fix that. Go to my website, and so it's like it'll be up in probably in a couple more weeks. will be up in a couple more weeks. But I have my Google profile, and they can give me a call. I send the link. So I have a work cell phone or an email that you can connect to me. I'm licensed in Utah, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. And if you call me from California and you're like, I really need a therapist, I have a lot of connections. I will give you referrals. Like, I will be happy to talk to you for free, give you referrals to therapists that might help you. And so, yeah, don't shy away. I'm not going to charge you for talking to me and giving you a referral. I would never do that. Yeah.
That's good to know. Thank you. Martina, thank you so much for taking the time to bless our listeners today, grace the platform, connect with me, and educate me more about trauma and the things that we should be doing and we need to do. Um, I thank you for accepting your calling, like I told you before, and continuing to walk in your light because you are a ball of energy and light, and it shines so bright and it pierces through people's spirit. And I pray over your journey, I pray over your purpose, and I really want you to continue to do your work on yourself because the work that you do on yourself, you just keep giving more to people by being no nonsense therapist, no BS, raw, authentic, and truly yourself. So I really appreciate you and thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for saying yes and joining us today.